Race 3A is about to get underway here for the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Championship, and we've got Joe Wiggins starting on pole position. Now, the current standings, if I am correct, John Langridge has just pipped Will, but this young man has racked up enough first place podiums. He might become a freeway battle in the end, so it's going to come down to this last race and the final weekend at Silverstone after this one. Just to point out as well, Andy, if you are watching, that's a big black cloud coming. So I'm going to hand it straight over to you to run through what happens in this race.
Thanks, Lindsay. Well, yeah, as if there wasn't enough spice in the mix already, a bit of rain would really potentially turn this race on its head. Here's how they line up for it then. Wiggin on pole with Langridge alongside. Blackwell, Chambers and Allwood sharing row number 2. Keep an eye on Ollie for potentially a race victory here. Greatrex and Foden row 3. Pollard and Ollie Graham on row 4. With Adam Bessel looking to make progress from 9th on the grid. He's got Seb Fisher for company. David Waters and Martin Tolley are next, ahead of Jack Rawls and Dave Turton, looking to resume their battle from race 2. Then Matt Luff and Marcus Bailey. With the rest filing in behind, we have gained onto the grid for this race Adam Craig, Michael Nibbs, Adrian Burge, Lewis Cannon and Bryn Griffiths, the top 5 finishers from race 2B. So, 10 points separate Langridge and Blackwell Chambers in John Langridge's favour. Wiggin is now, as I said, continuing to creep up. He's 52 off the championship lead, though, and needs more race victories. Well, he's going to struggle, I think, to hold on to the lead here at the start of race number 3, because Langridge is quicker off the line than he is. On board with Adrian Burge. Up the inside comes Lewis Cannon. This is right at the back of the grid, and he's got a grandstand view of the other 31 cars piling into Redgate Corner together. There's Michael Close, the white and grey striped car in the middle of it all as well through Redgate Corner, but it's Langridge that might have just got the race lead away from Joe Wiggin. They're wheel to wheel down through the Craner curves. John Langridge knows how important it is to try and get ahead of Wiggin here in the early stages. Oh, he's sideways, the championship leader, almost in big trouble as he came through the left-hander, and he is now in big trouble because he's on the outside line. Allwood goes through into second place. Greatrex was almost alongside, but hang on, where did Greatrex go? All of a sudden, Jason seemed to slow on the exit of the corner, and Blackwell Chambers comes up to challenge. That could have been a lot worse for John Langridge. He only lost 1 position, but a big sideways moment on cold tyres down at the old hairpin rarely ends well, and he did really well there to hang on to 3rd place. Ollie Allwood, though, living up to my pre-race prediction, is well and truly up for the fight here. He's right onto the tail now of the all-conquering Joe Wiggin. Back of the field, it's all going on as well, but it's Wiggin that leads the way. Allwood 2nd, Langridge 3rd, Blackwell Chambers 4th, Greatrex in 5th, and Adam Bessel appears to be in 6th position. Wiggin, though, leading the way. Allwood looking to try and challenge. Down into the chicane they go. Blackwell Chambers there looking to the inside of Langridge, can't get through. On board with Clive Chisnall now. We're going around the outside of somebody into the chicane. Can we make that one stick? No, back up the inside goes the car we were trying to overtake, and we're now all over the grass as well. Very, very close indeed going into the braking zone. That might have been the 32 of Callum Greatrex there that he was racing with, I think. Melbourne hairpin. Oh, it's all kicking off. There's a car stuck in the middle of the road. Michael Close with some cat-like reflexes there to avoid it. Oh, it's Will Hayden. Will Hayden's gone off, and I think it was Fraser Fennick, the blue car, that he tangled with. Both of them hopefully will be able to rejoin, but neither quite in showroom condition anymore, those cars. Right then, so Joe Wiggin survives a bruising opening lap to lead the way. Ollie Allwood 2nd, and then Langridge and Blackwell Chambers. Never have they been separated by many positions on the track this weekend, but it does seem to be Langridge that, generally speaking, has the pace over Blackwell Chambers, so if he can beat him again, he would open up an even more comfortable championship margin, unless, of course, Will has been able to find something between races 2 and 3, maybe some setup tweaks, maybe he's just sort of got his head around the track and the car and the conditions a little bit now. Staying with Langridge for the time being, but it's early days yet. We're only on lap number 2. If I were Will Blackwell Chambers, though, and I realise this is easier said than done, but if I were Will Blackwell Chambers, I would be looking to get past Langridge as soon as possible, try and disrupt his rhythm, and that is what he's trying to do. He had a little peek to the right-hand side of the road there going into Starkey's, but that was the outside line for these 2 left-hand kinks. And we know that Langridge is good on the brakes here into McLean, so there's no real way through just now for Will Blackwell Chambers. Langridge, though, starts watching his mirrors. It's allowing the top 2 to get away slightly. There goes Steve Foden, meanwhile, looking at the inside of Adam Bessel. That's for 6th position. Can't do that, though. Bessel, the white and pale blue car, stays in front of him. So Ollie Allwood, then, can he go and get a race victory here, I wonder? Allwood still looking for his first win, remember. He's been knocking on the door on a couple of occasions this year, but this is a really impressive weekend for him so far. Blackwell Chambers, though, up the inside of Langridge and goes through. Into third place goes Will Blackwell Chambers, and Langridge might be slow off the corner now, so keep an eye on Jason Greytrex behind him to try and get up the inside, which is exactly what he's trying to do, and he's bringing friends with him as well. Adam Bessel is there, Steve Foden is there, and John Langridge could be set to lose even more places. Look, through goes Greytrex. Now Bessel's up the inside. He should complete the manoeuvre on the exit of the corner, and then Langridge has to try and fend off Steve Foden on the run up the hill into the Goddard's hairpin. How quickly your fortunes can change, but this is exactly what Blackwell Chambers wanted, not only to get ahead of Langridge, but to hope that John lost more places. Ooh, a bit of biffing and banging going on there, coming out of the hairpin. Clive Chisnall takes advantage to gain a position over one of the cars that was out on the grass there to the left-hand side of the road. There is Blackwell Chambers then, he's into third place. Langridge has settled into sixth-ish. He's trying to get back up the inside of Bessel while simultaneously defending his sixth place from Steve Foden. I think he'll be successful in doing both of those things. The best form of defence sometimes is attack, and so Langridge goes back through into the top 5 now. So only one car between himself and Blackwell Chambers, but that's a 4-point swing, and so the gap would come down potentially from 10 points to 6 points, which would mean that actually over the course of the whole weekend, Langridge would have only gained 2 points on Blackwell Chambers. It seems a lot of effort, that, doesn't it, to score 2 extra points over your championship rival. It's just so often how this works. Very rarely do you see one championship contender beat the other in all 3 races over the weekend. It usually ebbs and flows a bit over each race meeting. 3 races, that's 60 minutes of racing action. Remember, 3 20-minute races, a full hour of racing. Lots can change, and very regularly lots does change in that sort of time. Glimpse there of the weather potentially about to change as well, that big ominous black cloud looming over the Donington Park circuit, which gets treacherously slippery as soon as it gets even a little bit of moisture on it. Ollie Allwood, though, at the moment seems content to work with Joe Wigan, and this is what I've been saying: if you work with another driver, especially at such a high-speed circuit as this, then it is usually the best way to either gain on the cars in front of you or pull away from the cars behind. Look at the way that Allwood is just latched onto the rear bumper of Joe Wigan. He's not even thinking about overtaking him, simply pushing him down the straights, literally pushing him down the straights, trying to get away from the cars behind. Lock up there from Seb Fisher, runs a bit wide, and so behind him Martin Tolley, Matt Luff and the 55 car of Matt Pollard will try and get past him. Not sure any of them will, though, actually. Where's he gone? We're on board with Tolley, somewhere over to our right-hand side. Well, now is Matt Luff, because Matt Luff actually gets to the inside of him and will take a place away as they go through the Goddard's hairpin. Seb Fisher is indeed still in front of them. Oh, and Tolley, well, he was coming back there at Matt Luff, and I don't think Matt saw him coming. Came across a finger waggle from Martin Tolley. Oh, no, you don't. And that was something that I'm sure Matt Luff will not think twice about now. Jason Greytrex has got third place away from Will Blackwell Chambers, and John Langridge needed no second invitation to get up the inside of Will as they came out of Redgate Corner, and yet again it changes immediately because Langridge is back ahead of Will, and that means that the championship situation changes once again, but Will Blackwell Chambers fights straight back up the inside into the old hairpin and does get himself back ahead once again. Steve Foden now starting to join in. See, this is getting complicated further now by the fact that other drivers are starting to join in the what has so far been pretty much a private battle between John Langridge and Will Blackwell Chambers. But that's what Will needs, really. He needs a couple of cars between himself and John to further increase his points advantage in this particular race. And, well, Bessel and Foden and I think that's Dave Turton are all in tow now. No, it's not Dave Turton, it's the 24 of Oliver Graham, excuse me. Too many blue cars in the field at the moment. But yes, Ollie Graham is running well. Dave Turton, I think, is at the back of the next group in another blue car, and then David Waters, another blue car just behind him as well. That is the blue car, though, that is second in the championship, Will Blackwell Chambers, who is doing all within his power here to try and close in. Now, look at this. Ollie Allwood's got the race lead away from Joe Wiggins somewhere. We didn't see where that happened. We're going to see the retaliation, though. Wiggins straight back up the inside into the Melbourne hairpin. That's interesting, though, because thus far, as I made the point on several occasions, it's seemed that Allwood has been content to sit in the wheel tracks of the race leader and follow him around, trying to pull away from the rest of the field. But if he's now decided that it's time to go racing, this could be the chance for the cars behind to close in slightly. Through Goddard's again, back onto the home straight, and Jason Greytrex now into third place. He's going to try and go after those two, I'm sure. Blackwell Chambers, Langridge, Bessel, Foden and Graham now. Those 5 cars becoming a little bit more detached. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th places respectively. And Blackwell Chambers is really defending now from Langridge into Redgate Corner. think Will has almost written off his chances of getting a podium now. He just wants to keep Langridge behind. It doesn't really matter where they finish. It's not about how many points Blackwell Chambers scores, it's about how many more points than Langridge he scores. And so if he doesn't think that he's got much chance of going after the podium places, it might serve him better to back Langridge up into an Adam Bessel or a Steve Foden or an Ollie Graham and hope that they get past him. And then if there's more cars between them, it's still only 2-point increments between each position, regardless of whether you finish first and second or 21st and 22nd. It's still 2 points of difference between each position, so it really is all about their relative positions to each other rather than where they are in the overall order. Blackwell Chambers, as a double reigning champion, will be well aware of how this works, and so doesn't really need to worry too much about going after the leaders, who are nose to tail again. Look, Wigan and Allwood coming out of Coppice Corner. Does Allwood pull out of the slipstream again here to have a go for the race lead or not? He's staying with him still. Meanwhile, Langridge is back along the outside of Blackwell Chambers and muscling his way through. That was feisty stuff there, but Langridge had the run and he knew that he had to complete the manoeuvre before they hit the brakes into the chicane, but he's slow off the corner and this could open the floodgates because back through goes Blackwell Chambers and Adam Bessel is up the inside as well. Langridge needs to try and close the door here before Steve Foden takes advantage of this. Into the hairpin, where have they all gone? We're on board with Foden, looking back at Ollie Graham, who goes up the inside of him as well. So if those two start fighting, that will certainly help Langridge. Yes, he's going to keep both of them at bay. And in fact, Johnny's now back up the inside of Bessel, look into the final corner. So John Langridge will only lose the one position. 3 into 1 doesn't often work into the Goddard's hairpin, and it's Oliver Graham on the outside line who probably will lose out there. Yes, he does, falls back behind Steve Foden again. So back across the line they go again. This is turning into an enthralling race, and I don't really know where to look. We've got this battle for the lead that's bubbling away, but I don't think that's going to really kick off until the final couple of laps, because Allwood does seem content to once again stay behind Wigan for now and just stick with him. Greatrex is sort of on his own in third. It's the fight for fourth that's really worth watching, because that is the fight for the championship lead. And it's not beyond the realms of possibility here that actually Blackwell Chambers, if he gets enough cars between himself and Langridge, he could actually reclaim the championship lead. He's only 10 points behind. That's 5 positions on the track. If he's 5 places higher than Langridge in this race, they'll be level on points going to the final meeting. So this is really intense stuff now. There go the leaders then. Situation normal between those two, really. Wigan, does he feel the need to defend into Coppice? No, he knows that Allwood isn't going to attack just now. Though he's definitely applying the pressure, but he's got this sus now, hasn't he, that he can come off the corners, latched right onto the rear bumper of Wigan, and then immediately start pushing him down the long straights. Langridge and Blackwell Chambers, though, they're side by side again. This is an action replay of what happened a lap ago, with Langridge getting to the outside of Blackwell Chambers down the exhibition straight. The leaders turn into the chicane with no change in the order. What is going on behind him, though? Did Langridge make it stick on this occasion? Has he got that 4th place back away from Will Blackwell Chambers? Down to the hairpin we go. The passengers on that plane taking off have a cracking view of all of the action on the Melbourne Loop. And yeah, it's changed again, hasn't it? Because that's Bessel now ahead of Langridge. Oh, and Ollie Graham locking up the inside brake there on the inside line at the Melbourne hairpin. So Langridge has now lost a place. That means he loses 4 of his 10 championship points that he has in hand over Blackwell Chambers if we threw the flag now. Thankfully, for all concerned, apart from maybe Will Blackwell Chambers, we're not throwing the checkered flag yet. We've still got just under half the race to go. As an interesting caveat to all of this as well, Jason Greatrex is actually gaining on the leading 2, so we could yet have a 3-way fight for the race lead, with the championship battle then raging behind. Here they come then, Blackwell Chambers in 4th, Bessel 5th, Langridge 6th, goes back up the inside though. That was a really nice move. He's probably been the most committed driver on the brakes all weekend as John Langridge, and that was another squeaky clean move up the inside of Bessel into Redgate Corner. Now he's set back off after Will Blackwell Chambers once again. Through Hollywood, down the Craner curve, Steve Foden sort of been there or thereabouts in this battle. He's dropped Oliver Graham now, though, after Oliver's lock-up down at the Melbourne hairpin has cost him some time. Then it looks like it's Matt Luff and Seb Fisher, who aren't that far behind either. So I mean, you see, if Blackwell Chambers plays his cards right here, he could yet force Langridge into losing a couple of places here. Right now, there's a bit of real estate between the two of them as they head through McLean's again. Hill. Foden now looking to the inside of Bessel, but that was never likely to work really. Don't do a huge amount of braking into Copper's corner. You sort of just throw it at an apex that you can't actually see. It's a completely blind right-hander, that, until you're in the corner and you're fully committed. You don't actually know whether or not you've turned it at the right point, which is a challenge, it's fair to say. This time, they're not side by side here, but on both of the previous laps that Langridge has gone around the outside of Blackwell Chambers into the chicane, he's ended up losing time on the exit, so that may not be the best course of attack here. Instead, he focuses on getting a good exit himself from the chicane and tries to force the reigning champion to defend into the Melbourne hairpin, which he does. Goes right to the inside of the road. Langridge goes to the outside. Can he get the cut back up the inside? No, Blackwell Chambers had that one covered. Just stops the car on the apex, waits until he feels that little nudge in the rear bumper, and then hits the accelerator. He knows then that John Langridge has been robbed of his extra momentum through the corner. This is really touchy-feely stuff now, and Langridge right now won't be too disappointed. He'll only lose 2 points to Blackwell Chambers if things finish as they are. The issue will be if Blackwell Chambers really does back him up into the cars behind, then all of a sudden Will start to take a few more points out of him. Meanwhile, the McAttack racing car of Joe Wiggin turns through Redgate Corner, still the race leader, but actually this has probably been the hardest fought race victory that he's gone for this weekend, because in both of the previous races at some point he's been able to pull away from the cars behind, but he can't seem to shake off Ollie Allwood at the moment, probably because Ollie is not under any pressure himself, so he's not having to defend, and also Ollie is not really throwing everything at this just yet. He's just keeping it nice and smooth, keeping his tyres under him, keeping himself nice and relaxed if he can here, and all the time trying to plan for maybe even the last lap of the race. That might be when Allwood strikes here. Right now, he's not making any mistakes because he's not pushing too hard. He seems to be able to quite happily sit behind Joe Wiggin. The slipstream around here is probably worth a good half a second at least, so he doesn't really have to try that hard to stay with Wiggin because the toe is allowing him to stay there anyway. Well, now, though, he does go to the inside line. Just as I said, he was happy to sit behind him. He's gone up the inside and retakes the race lead, does Allwood. Now, out of the chicane, though, Wiggin is fighting back again up the inside into the hairpin and is going back ahead. So we've seen that happen twice now, that Allwood has gone through. We presume the first time it was at the chicane as well, only to lose the race lead again at the very next corner. Look at who is closing in. Jason Greytrex, the red and white car, in third position, getting closer and closer. Almost call this now a three-way fight for the race lead, I think, as they come off the corner. Greytrex, by the end of this straight, with a good tow from both of the cars in front of him, I think will be with them. So now we really are going to be torn as to what to watch. Do we focus on the fight for the race lead or the fight for the championship lead that's going on behind? Two sets of eyes at least here to keep track of everything that's going on, and that's just inside the top half dozen or so. There are umpteen other battles just as close as this raging right the way throughout the field. These are the two of most significance. Now, I thought that Greytrex would have caught them a bit more there, but I don't think he had a great exit from Redgate, so actually Allwood has got a bit more breathing room behind him again. So he's tried at the chicane a couple of times, and he's made it stick, but can't seem to get the exit of the chicane right, so does he try there again, or does he focus instead on trying to prise the door open somewhere else? He just seems to get a really good run through these two corners. The right-hander at McLean's, that gets him right on the tail of Joe Wiggin, and then he does seem able to come off this corner at Coppice a little bit better than the race leader, and then he's got the toe down straight. Looks a bit tighter to the apex, comes off the corner a few inches away from the rear bumper of the 41 car. Joe might choose to defend this time, and that's going to back them up a little bit. So yeah, Allwood goes to the outside instead. This is risky stuff, but it might just work, because it's in theory the quick line through the corner, but he can't get his nose in front. Watch out though, because on the exit of the corner, Wiggin might now suffer from exactly what Allwood suffered from on the previous laps. He went tight into the chicane, means he might be a bit slow on the exit. Does he move over to cover? No, it's Allwood defending from Greytrex, so Wiggin keeps hold of the race lead, but Ollie Allwood now having to watch his mirrors because Jason Greytrex is there with them. Meanwhile, behind, Will Blackwell Chambers is defending again. John Langridge trying still to find a way back ahead of him, and there's more and more cars joining in now because it looks as though Matt Luff and Ollie Graham have caught back up again now, so there are at least 5 or 6 cars in that group. That could play into the hands of Blackwell Chambers if he plays his cards right here. Back across the start-finish line we go then, into the final few laps of the race. And Joe Wiggin, so far, has seen off all of the challenges that Ollie Allwood has thrown his way. Look at this, though. Well, I said 5 or 6 cars. There are about 7 or 8, I think. It's still Blackwell Chambers in 4th, with John Langridge 5th, Bessel 6th, Graham 7th, 8th is Fisher, 9th is Pollard, 10th is Foden, and 11th is Matt Luff. But this is all including the top 2 in the championship, who are at the head of this group. But if either one of them falls back into that pack, that could be absolutely disastrous for their championship hopes. Langridge thinks about having a go around the outside there of Blackwell Chambers, but John, now more than ever, really has to think this through. Is it worth taking a huge risk and going for 4th place to try and negate the 2 points that Blackwell Chambers is set to take out of him at the moment, knowing all the time that if it goes wrong, he could lose 5 or 6 places, and with it the championship lead, because remember, John Langridge had that non-finish at Brands Hatch. He then was in the B race in race 3 at Brands Hatch. His other worst finish, you drop your 3 worst finishes, remember, over the season, so his other drop score is an 8th place finish from earlier on this year. So if he finishes outside the top 8 again, that will count as possibly another drop score, and he might be in that position now because he goes to the outside of Coppice corner. Blackwell Chambers sees him off though, and Bestley's up the inside. Oh, this could be a disaster for John Langridge. He's got to try and fight back down into the chicane. He's in the tow. Bessel's got to run on the pair of them actually, and Adam might turn out to have a good go going into 3rd place. Langridge tries to go to the inside. There's contact there with Blackwell Chambers, and Adam Bessel sails round the outside of both of them, takes over 4th position. They're still side by side through the corner. And John Langridge again manages to come out of that not too badly. He's still right on the tail of Blackwell Chambers. Moves to the inside line, Bessel to the outside. Blackwell Chambers is back up the inside of Bessel though, and so is John Langridge. Anything Blackwell Chambers does, John Langridge is simply shadowing him. Goes back through, and just as you were, they're back into 4th and 5th places, almost as if nothing happened, but that was really, really close stuff. Leaders are through onto their... Oh, it's the final lap. What a shame. Someone hide the checkered flag. This has turned into one of the races of the season. Windscreen wipers going now as well for Joe Wiggins. So that rain that's been threatening has now arrived. It's not heavy at the moment, but it might just be enough to distract the drivers, if nothing else, and possibly make the circuit just a little bit greasy. Leaders then go down the hill. You can see it's definitely raining at this part of the track, so this is all we need, isn't it, really? Ollie Allwood, though, still not lacking any commitment, is right on the boot lid of the race leader, takes a tighter line through the old hairpin, has a much better exit from the old hairpin and tries to get himself alongside through Starkeys, which he's done. Ollie Allwood, 2 wheels on the grass, but that's the outside line for McLean's corner. Can he do it? Can he go right round the outside of Joe Wiggin? He might be able to. He's got his nose in front, but the next corner is another right-hander, and he has to watch out because Jason Greatrex is there too. Greatrex could get the race lead out of all of this. He goes to the outside as well. Wiggin and Allwood are still side by side. Less than half a lap to go. Down the exhibition straight they go. There's yellow flags at Coppice, but that's okay. There was no overtaking at that corner. Hand back out of the cockpit though for Wiggins. The yellow flags must stretch all the way down the straight. They're still side by side though. How do you sort this one out? Allwood up the inside into the chicane. Brakes later. Takes the race lead. Ollie Allwood goes through with just 2 more corners to go, but he's been in front at this point before, and then on both occasions has lost the lead at the very next corner. Dives to the inside line to defend. Wiggin ducking and diving all over him. Jason Greatrex is part of this as well, and Joe Wiggin goes up the inside over the curb. He retakes the race lead. A phenomenal move from Joe Wiggin. You'd think that he'd be happy with 7 race victories almost in a row, but he wants the 8th victory, and he's back in front as they go up the hill, and Jason Greatrex might actually have got alongside as well. In fact, Greatrex leads by a nose into the final corner, but Wiggin has the inside line. Greatrex is sideways, and that allows Allwood back through. A phenomenal battle, a phenomenal race, and a phenomenal 8th victory of the season for Joe Wiggin. Brilliant stuff. He fended them off somehow and takes the checkered flag. Allwood is 2nd, Greatrex is 3rd. Now who is 4th? It's going to be Blackwell Chambers, but is Langridge going to hang on to 5th place to the flag? I think he will. He just about manages it and only loses 2 championship points to Blackwell Chambers. They will be separated by just 8 points going to the final round of the year. And breathe, everybody. What a race that was. Wiggin, another race win, but one of the hardest fought of the season so far. Allwood 2nd, Greatrex 3rd, whilst Blackwell Chambers takes 2 championship points back out of John Langridge, who still manages to get a top 5 finish with Bessel, Luff, Fisher, Foden and Ollie Graham rounding out the top 10. The fastest lap, by the way, went to Jason Greatrex, so he gets the 2 bonus points, and we only had 2 non-finishers, Bryn Griffiths and Michael Nibbs, whilst Charlie Rawls was disqualified. What a race.
Joe, that has actually gone down in the history books as one of the most fascinating and intense drives of all Mazdas. How does it feel to walk away knowing that you came first?
It's always good when you win. 3 out of 3 at Donington. I love this track, and I didn't think I'd win any on Thursday, so testament to the team, Tucker, Eco Trailer, CN Science, my missus, my family, everyone, you know, and to the BRSCC Mazda for putting on a great race, and especially to Ollie and AB and Greatrex, you know, what great, clean, fun racing at the front, and a respect to them because we all gave each other enough room, and, you know, fair play to them.
I wish you could have heard the commentators. I think they were about ready to pop. What was your favourite moment in that?
Probably the last lap, so, you know, it was a move, so, you know, but race and respect from them all. So that's probably the best bit, is that everyone actually raced cleanly and fairly, and I can't fault anyone. So
Fantastic. We'll let you go and enjoy this win. Congratulations again.
cheers, thank you very much.
Ollie, you pretty much just about popped the commentators. What was going on in that race?
Yeah, it was a fantastic race. I mean, Joe drove a great strategy. We sort of towed away together, and it was working. Jason was tracking us down, and I knew I had the pace on Joe. That wasn't the problem. The problem was where to do it. And I tried it a couple of times, and he kept getting the cut back, and he just had the pace in the right places. And then on the last lap, I got a little bit lucky with the yellow flags there, because they came out and then they went very quickly back in again, and I was down the inside of him like a shot. But fair play, Joe. Joe then sent it down the inside on the smallest gap. I thought I closed it off, but apparently there was still tarmac left. A little bit door to door. It's tight. It's one of those things. I thought I was down in third all of a sudden after all of that as well, with Jason coming back through. But great race. Really enjoyed it. Good to be back on the podium finally.
Well, we all knew you were going to be looking at what times you were putting in this weekend, so it was just a matter of when. But how did it feel with Jason coming up right behind you in the last few laps?
Yeah, he applied a lot of pressure. He was quick here last year. He goes really well here, and it was just every time we made a little mistake or battled, he just took a chunk out of us, and I was just conscious that I didn't want Jason in the battle either. I wanted it to be a two-way fight. So yeah, he put a lot of pressure on it, and maybe that sort of messed my strategy up a little bit. I don't know, but it was a good race. I enjoyed it, and you know, Jason and Joe drove a great race as well. So good day in the end. Taking a long time to get here.
Well, congratulations from us, but this is definitely going down as one of the best and fascinating races in history of Mazdas. Well done.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Jason, you came through like that, like a freight train, and you came out of nowhere in the last few laps. Talk me through what happened.
My only chance of getting up with those two top boys were going to be quick, because Ollie was obviously quick coming from the back of the Bs yesterday and coming through the whole A race in 2A. So I had to get through as quick as possible. First lap, get in third place. The gap was already there. It was gone. They were working together to try and keep me in third place. I'd gapped the fourth place, so that was fine. All I had to do was get my head down and try and bridge the gap, and the only way I was going to do it is when they started squabbling. So I just kept it perfect all the way through until they started squabbling, and then I was on them with a chance of the win then.
Yeah, I think you put a bit of fear in both of those lads when you came up behind them out of nowhere. So by all means, I think you threw a spanner in the works there when you came out of nowhere in their rear view mirrors.
Yeah, I think when they started battling then, it was just anyone's race sort of thing. So when we were in the hairpin at the last lap then, they were squabbling real tight on the inside, so I just took the widest line possible. I had much better exit, actually took the lead by half a car length, but had the outside line for the next hairpin, and just didn't have the line, and they were both at the inside, and back to third I was.
God, well, we can't congratulate you enough for that fantastic drive. This is definitely going down as one in the history books.
Brilliant. I'd just like to thank my team Redline, my father, and all my family that came here to watch as well. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thanks so much.